Hi, good afternoon. This is Cindy Mazer, and I am the ADR, Alternative Dispute Resolution Director at FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency. I also am chair of a subsection of the Interagency ADR Working Group called Conflict Management, Workplace Conflict Management Section. And I want to welcome you here today. But before I do that, I'd really like to thank a lot of people who made this possible. If you've been watching us over the last year, you know that we always have in-person speakers. And today we are deviating from that for the first time. And we're very excited to have a speaker with us, although we're in Washington, D.C., she's in New York. And we even have people on the line from the UK, so we're feeling very international this afternoon. But I want you to just know that it's technically, we've had a lot of people helping to make this happen, and we want to thank Lee Blackard, who's just really been a miracle worker. And of course, Isabella Faraz and Sharam Gethsemane and Elizabeth Bissell, Sada Nalo, and just all the people upstairs. Anybody else? How about those two people over there? Lee? Oh, good. Yeah. Okay. So always like to start with the thank yous because, we're trying something completely different and it has its challenges. So I want to bring to your attention what we're going to do next time. So this is our advertisement for Wednesday, July 25th, same place, same time. And our topic is verbal atemi, a technique for creative disruption. And our speaker is Steve Kotev. He's a conflict resolution consultant and coach. So that's Wednesday, July 25th. And now, turning our attention to what we're doing today, I want to introduce our speaker. That's Dr. Dean Killian. So she is a certified trainer with the International Center of Nonviolent Communication. She's a certified life coach. She's founder and former director of the Center for Collaborative Communication. She has spoken all over the world, including the UN, Omega Institute, Kripalu, and many other exciting places. So with that, I will turn things over to her, but let me just give you her title for her topic, which is how to get people to do what you want without regretting it later. So thank you, Dean.
Thank you, Cindy. Well, first of all, I want to thank you and ADR for organizing this series. In preparing to give my talk today, I had an opportunity to look at some past presentations, and I very much appreciate the service that you're doing for those in the federal government in the United States and for everyone who gets to enjoy this programming. So thank you for your effort and your vision in organizing this and making it available. And I also want to give a big thank you to Elizabeth for inviting me, and Isabella as well, and Lee for tech support. I admire what I see as our collective creativity and courage in doing this for the first time remotely, which definitely made it easier for me to participate given my travel schedule. So thank you for that. And I also, of course, want to thank everyone who's here participating today. If you're in the room in DC or if you're participating remotely, I very much appreciate you taking time out during your lunch to join me. And the reason I'm grateful is that I am genuinely passionate about the skills I'm going to be sharing with you today. In effect, I'm going to be sharing what I see as a different mindset to look at motivation and engagement, and also some very practical skills to support that mindset or perspective. And as a coach and consultant, I'm very lucky that I've had an opportunity to share these skills, as Cindy mentioned, around the world, and seen repeatedly the difference that these skills make for people. So I'm very, very grateful that you're here and you've taken time out of your day, because I'm excited about sharing these concepts with you. And the program is going to be experiential. So I'm going to start out with some concepts and framing some things, but then we're going to jump in, and I really would be grateful if people would actively participate, because first of all, I'm a big believer in learning by doing, and then also I can make the presentation as specific as possible to meet your needs via your participating. So just to let you know, if you are joining us remotely, I'd appreciate if you jot this information down right now, that during the program, you can email Elizabeth. That's Elizabeth with an S, ELISABETH .Bissell, BISSELL, at FEMA.DHS.gov. Elizabeth.Bissell at FEMA.DHS.gov. Or you can text her at 202-664-3982. That's 202-664-3982. So if you are participating remotely, please keep that information handy, because I would love for you to join us with your questions and comments. So the topic today, as I mentioned, is how to get people to do what we want without regretting it later. So there's two parts to this equation, in my view. I think the first part is easy for most people. I think most of us are clear what we want people to do. We're usually pretty clear about our strategies, whether that's we want someone to respond to an email or a text that we've sent, or return a phone call, or to get something done for us, like a report or an estimate, get us some numbers, some crucial information. And of course, we usually want it on deadline or within the time frame that would support us. Or if we're talking about tasks at home, we're mostly focused here on work, but just to expand the scope for a second, maybe you want someone to do the dishes or empty the trash or get off a device or do their homework. So all of these are tasks that we might want someone to do. And then sometimes, of course, we want what I would call a change in behavior. Maybe someone to follow directions more closely, or to be more engaged or involved on a team, or to speak up more at meetings, or sometimes we may want someone to speak up less often at a meeting. So, or at home, we might want a change in behavior in terms of how much time our children are spending on homework, or how much time a significant other is taking out of their life for quality time with us. So these can be changes in behavior. So just to reframe it again or revisit it, I think usually we're looking for, when we're looking for something from someone else, a task or a change in behavior. But the second part of this equation is especially interesting to me, the part that's not about the task or the behavior. The second part is about relationship. So what does it mean to work and live and collaborate with people in a way that's free of regret, free of resentment, and actually is generative, where we're building greater trust, greater ease, greater cooperation and engagement? In effect, the more we invest in how we're developing the relationship, I would say there's some kind of algorithm there that impacts how easy it's going to be for people to say yes to requests that we make in the future. All the research that I've seen is showing how important trust is in the workplace. These soft skills, Google a few months ago released further research that they've done in-house around this, that people there would think that someone's capacity around STEM would be the most important skill. Actually, it's not. It's how people collaborate. It's how people communicate. It's how they build trust with each other. So this is why I like framing this question this way. What do we want and how are we going to get it? Because those two are actually very much connected to each other. So these are two questions. What do you want someone to do, and why do you want them to do it? And of course, it goes very quickly to intrinsic motivation. I have a question for all of you. I want you to think about, remember, the last time you did a task where you were telling yourself that you had to do it, that you really had no choice about it. So there was some kind of should there, some obligation. It could be, well, you know, I really don't want to do this, but she helped me last time. Or, you know, I don't know, the boss may not be too happy if I say I'm too busy to do this. So whatever it is, think of something that you had to do recently that you really didn't want to do. You know, this could also be things in your own life, like updating your resume. I was recently working with a coaching client who just started working with me, and was wanting to update her resume for about 18 months now and hadn't gotten to it. So she had some big internal shoulds about updating her resume, or getting a proposal done, or things like losing weight or giving up smoking or exercising more. I think we all can have a lot of shoulds, internalized shoulds around areas in our life, such as self-care as well. But see if you can think of a work one, because we are in a work setting here. If not, anyone will do, but think of a task where you told yourself that you had to do it. And I would love to hear a few examples from people in DC, and if people want to also text those to Elizabeth or put it in the chat function in WebEx. Just to give us some companionship here around things that we're all having to do or think we have to do.
So performance reviews?
Yeah. So I would love to hear what is not fun for you about performance reviews, and what are you telling yourself about it? What's the should or have to?
So the negatives are that it's time consuming. I'm not sure the system is designed to actually accomplish what it's meant to do, which is to help people, I think, do a better job and feel good about themselves and feel valued and recognized. And what was your second question?
Yeah, what's the should, what's the have to?
Oh, yeah, well, my boss runs reports on a regular basis as to who has and who has not completed their performance reviews, and your name is right up there for all to see.
Yeah, and so in effect, there would be repercussions if you chose to skip doing this task.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, and I also appreciate hearing your vision for what you would really love this task to be about. But we're going to be talking more about that in a few minutes, but I want you to know I'm already hearing in there your desire for people's learning and growth and to receive information that's meaningful and valuable for them. Did I get that accurately?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So we're going to be switching to that focus more in a few minutes. For the moment, I want to invite everyone to go back to that task that you really do not want to do. And just think about that task. I of course, have a few myself. I'm thinking of one. And I just want you to pause for a moment and notice how are you feeling about that task, and even what's your visceral response in your body? What do you notice?
Despair?
We got dread over here.
Dread?
Dread. Okay. I missed the first thing that people said. I think it was something, it's there, but I don't think I heard that. But I heard dread. What was the first thing?
Despair.
It's there. It's kind of hanging over you?
Despair.
Just
Despair?
Oh, despair. Thank you. Yeah. So despair, dread. And by the way, I'm really big on listening to what our bodies are telling us, and our bodies communicate through sensation. So how does despair and dread turn up in your body? How do you notice that?
I feel like angst as to trying to get this task accomplished, because if I were just the linchpin in this, I get the job done, but I can't. I have to communicate with other people to get this task done, and they are the person who has the authority to get the job done.
So act about completing the task and the problem with the fact that some of it is not under your own control.
Yeah, which my guess is leads to even more angst or anxiety, maybe even frustration. So my guess is, I didn't hear anyone say this specifically. Oh, I think I saw a hand. Do you want to share as well?
Yes.
Yeah, we have someone virtually who said,
You tighten up,
tighten up,
and it shows up as stress, ulcers, aches, and pains.
and it shows up as stress, ulcers, aches, and pains.
And
Thank
also
you. Mm-hmm.
tension and nausea.
Tension and nausea.
Yeah.
And you feel it in your solar plexus.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad to hear people noticing what's going on in their bodies, because I'm convinced that most of us, we've just learned in our culture not to pay attention, to push it out of our minds. But of course, when we are experiencing dread or anxiety, of course that it turns up in our body. When I ask people, usually I hear things like pressure in their chest, their stomachs clenching, tension in their necks and shoulders. So here's my question. I think this is kind of obvious, and I wanted everyone to notice it and experience it. How well and with what kind of enthusiasm and engagement do you think you're going to complete the task with this kind of emotional and physical response to it? I mean, obviously, we all get things done with this kind of pressure, but how does it impact us? Any thoughts?
Not very well. It won't be done optimally.
Yeah, I agree. Why not? Can you say a little more? I think it's clear, but I'd like to hear your thoughts.
I think there's a lot of conflicting thoughts going into your head and a lot of pushback. So it's almost like you're fighting it.
Yes, yes. On a very practical neurological level, when we are anxious, we trigger certain chemicals in our body. You know, I think everyone's familiar now with fight or flight, reptilian brain. On a very basic level, I don't think our bodies are functioning at an optimum level. We're not getting the same blood flow, for example. We're clenched. So how can we be present and focused and have the level of creativity or collaboration? Now, I want to just raise the bar a little bit. We've been talking about when we're experiencing what I call demand internally, when we're telling ourselves we have to do something, there's going to be repercussion. We might be judged, or we might be, get a negative review in some way. When we have that demand energy for ourselves, it impacts us. And I just want to extend this to what it's like when we're working with other people. So we may not be conscious of when the other person is experiencing a demand, either from us or structurally within the organization. But we often don't think about how that's impacting how long it's taking them to get us something or respond to something. But I'm pretty convinced that it is, even if it's not fully conscious. And here's another fact that I find fascinating in this context, that all the research that I've seen shows that 95 to 97% of our brains function on an unconscious level. So while we're doing our best not to notice how stressed we are and how many deadlines we have, there is somewhere in our brain saying, I have to do this, I should get it done, what's going to happen if I don't do it, and how is that impacting us even on an unconscious level? So what I'm interested in doing is, how can we shift out of what I call demand energy? How can we shift into a space where people are authentically engaged and connected with what's motivating them to do a task? That's what I find fascinating, what I'm interested in. So to look at that a little bit more, I want to do together another exercise. It's a little more detailed. So let's look at this slide here that I've put up. Here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to think now of a task that you'd like someone else to do, and what's blocking its completion. I'm guessing you have some kind of story about it. You know, it could be something like the person just doesn't care about this task, or they are overloaded themselves with too much work already, or the confusion about roles and responsibilities. So what is the task that you'd like someone else to do, and what's blocking completion in your opinion? And I'd like you to take out a pen and paper, or if you don't have that on your smartphone in the notes section, write down what the task is and what you think is blocking it. And I'm going to give you a couple minutes to do that. Or at least a minute. okay, I'd like to hear from one or two people who are willing to share just on a headline level what the task is.
I'll do it. Okay, I have an action that I need contracting to do.
Okay.
And, it's a little bit different than it was last year. And I have been sending out emails to the person who worked on it last year to say, the deadline is closing for the providing organization. I need this interagency agreement done. And it just doesn't seem like, what is being done. I feel the milk got your law. Okay? So,
I'm struggling to hear you, but I got that you've put out like requests or proposals from contractors, and the project has changed a little bit this year.
it's an interagency agreement.
Okay.
Need is to have done, and I don't have the authority to bind the government. I'm not a contracting officer. I'm a core or COTAR.
Okay.
People know it as, and it's something that a program office does use, these particular products, right? And so this particular organization has a closing date for when the paperwork needs to be finalized in the transfer of money. And I've continued to send email messages to say, hey, they want it wrapped up by end of May, and you haven't even, reached out to them. Okay? And, okay, so how does that make me feel? Well, I'm in despair, as I was saying earlier, because my program uses these products, not a great extent, but they do use the products, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not for lack of my trying to do the legwork for the interagency agreement documentation. Mm-hmm. The person who has to do this is out of my food chain, right?
Yes. Okay.
So I can't, make them do it. And why aren't they reacting with urgency? I don't know, but it may be because they might be saying, well, I have such a full plate on me. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So what I've heard so far is that you're waiting on someone else to give you some information. I'm doing an abbreviated form here, but tell me if I'm getting the gist of it, okay? That you're waiting on someone else to get you some information you need so that you can complete a task. And as I heard you say, it's outside your food chain. It's not like this person reports directly to you. And by the way, I just want to add, I think that's an interesting element you've brought in. When we have structural power, it's often easier to get people to do things for us because it's a clearer repercussions if they don't. But what if we don't have that structural power? So that's what I'm hearing is your situation. And I heard despair. And I want to check. My guess is maybe you're also frustrated and exhausted at this point and confused. Do any of those fit for you?
Yeah, I'm frustrated and I'm exhausted because I try to be very proactive in telling them I represent the program office, okay, of what our needs are. And I tried to be very proactive, like 4 months ago, here's what needs to be done, just giving you a heads up, okay? Okay, when we get out of the continuing resolution, and you'll get your money, but I need for you to be looking at it. And at first I thought, well, okay, I didn't get an immediate response.
Okay, actually, I'm going to jump in. You know why? I think I have enough flavor of it, and I really want everyone to try it. So I hope you're okay with that, and I just want to include everyone. Thank you, though. And I want to go to the next step in a moment, and I want to give everyone else a chance to catch up, because I noticed you started going to the next step, which I appreciate, which is the feelings. And if you have the handout, the paper handout, if you're in DC in the conference room, you can open that handout and look, I believe it's on page 5, to a list of feelings when your needs are not met. If you are participating remotely, I have here on the slide where you can go on my website. Just go to workcollaboratively.com, and in the menu, look under resources, then click on learning resources, and then there's a shorter version of this handout called Feelings and Needs We All Have. I would like everyone to look at the feelings list, either online or in the paper packet, and write down 2 or 3 feeling words that are up for you. And it might be words like frustrated, discouraged, impatient, irritated, confused? So just see what's fitting for you when you think about this task that you'd like to see done. And by the way, I believe you can also, if you're participating remotely, that you can email or text Elizabeth and she will send you the link if that's easier for you than finding it on my website. Okay, I'd like to hear from people just the feeling words. And by the way, the reason I'm asking you to use the list is, in my experience, people can sometimes choose a word that I consider different from a feeling that actually has some judgment or evaluation in it. You know, like I feel disrespected. I actually consider the word disrespected to be an evaluation rather than a feeling word. So I'm actually interested in how you're feeling, which is why I'm asking you to use the list. So I'd love to hear from a few people, or at least one or two people, one or two feeling words that you've chosen off the list when you think about this task that you want someone to do.
Annoyed.
Okay, thank you.
Helpless, panicked.
Okay. Anyone else? It must just be me. Frustration is my go-to one when I have needs that are up, but I know when I'm wanting someone to do something and I'm not getting it, I usually get frustrated. So here's what I'd like to do now. There's another list in your packet that has needs on it. At the top of it, it says needs we all have. What I'm interested in now is, given the task you'd like done, how you're feeling when you think about it. And by the way, I didn't ask you, you might have noticed some sensations going on in your body in relation to these feelings as well. What I'm interested in is, what are you needing? I'm going to make a couple guesses here, you know, because, by the way, there's usually a connection between our feelings and our needs. So if you are feeling really anxious, I'm guessing you're wanting some relief and peace of mind. If you're impatient, you're probably wanting some movement forward. If you're irritated, maybe you're wanting some understanding. So I'd like you to look at the list of needs, which I believe is on page 3, if you have the full handout, and write down 3 or 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 needs or values that you're really longing for when you think about this situation. So if someone is ready, I would love to hear just a headline on what the task is. Could be as simple as, I haven't gotten